If you make $200,000 a year, why does it still feel tight? On paper, that number is supposed to mean you've made it. It's supposed to mean freedom, security, breathing room. And yet, for a surprising number of high earners, it doesn't feel that way. Surveys show Americans say they would need around $520,000 a year to feel rich. 14% of U.S. households already make $200,000 or more. And even more shocking, 62% of people earning over $300,000 a year still carry credit card debt. So if high earners, people in the top tier of income, are still stressed about money, still worried about bills, still feeling behind, what's actually going on? Because at that level, the problem shouldn't be income. And maybe that's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't about how much you make. It's about the structure of your life. For years, we've been sold a very simple promise. Once you hit six figures, everything changes. The stress fades. The pressure eases. The money problems disappear. Six figures becomes this psychological milestone, a finish line we're all running toward. But here's what actually happens. When you're making $50,000 a year, you look at $150,000 and think, that's it. That's the number. If I made that, I'd finally relax. Then you reach $100,000 and suddenly $150,000 doesn't feel extraordinary anymore. Now you're thinking $250,000 would be comfortable. Then you hit $300,000, an income that would have once sounded outrageous, and somehow, it still doesn't feel like enough. The anxiety hasn't vanished. The margin doesn't feel as wide as you imagined. The sense of arrival never quite arrives. This isn't because you're irresponsible or ungrateful. It's because of how human psychology works. We adapt. It's called hedonic adaptation, the tendency to quickly normalize improvements in our circumstances. The raise that once felt life-changing becomes your new baseline. What used to feel like luxury becomes ordinary. Alongside that comes expectation inflation. As income rises, so do standards. Where you live, what you drive, where you vacation, what you consider normal. The lifestyle that once felt aspirational becomes the minimum. And quietly, almost invisibly, the finish line starts moving. Each new level of income creates a new definition of enough. You don't feel richer because your target expanded the moment your paycheck did. The finish line moves every time your income moves. And this is exactly where Henrys are born. There's a term that perfectly captures this stage of financial life. Henry, high earners not rich yet. It describes a growing group of professionals who look successful by every traditional metric. They're often under 40. They earn strong salaries, sometimes well into the six figures. They work in tech, finance, law, medicine, entrepreneurship. On paper, they've made it. But underneath that income is a very different reality. Many Henrys are first-time homebuyers carrying large mortgages. They're still paying down student loans from degrees that helped them reach these salaries in the first place. Some are supporting young families and absorbing the rising costs of childcare. Many live in high-cost cities like Los Angeles or New York, where even a high income gets compressed by rent, taxes, and daily expenses. Their earnings are high, but their asset base is still thin. Retirement accounts are growing but not massive. Investments are building but not yet transformative. Net worth may be positive, but not powerful. They are income rich but asset poor. And that distinction matters. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. Cash flow is money moving through your hands every month. Optionality is the ability to stop, pivot, or breathe without financial panic. A high salary can create the appearance of security, but if most of that salary is already spoken for, it doesn't create real freedom. Income is not wealth. Cash flow is not optionality. Salary is not security. So if these high earners are making more than they ever imagined, why are so many of them still living paycheck to paycheck? So why does this happen? Why do people earning more than ever still feel financially constrained? It usually comes down to four structural forces that quietly expand alongside income. The first is lifestyle creep. When your income rises, your lifestyle tends to rise with it, not all at once but gradually, almost invisibly. The apartment you once felt lucky to afford starts to feel temporary. You upgrade to a better neighborhood. Maybe you move to Manhattan. Your rent doubles, but it feels justified because your income did too. You stop cooking as often because your time feels more valuable, so you order delivery more frequently, sometimes every day. Travel becomes more comfortable. Flights become direct instead of connecting. Hotels become nicer. You start paying to remove inconvenience from your life. And none of this feels reckless. It feels earned. It feels proportional to your effort. But something subtle has changed. You didn't get richer. Your baseline got higher. The level of spending required to maintain your normal life quietly expanded to match your income. What once felt like luxury becomes maintenance. The second force is the fixed cost trap. As income rises, fixed monthly obligations tend to rise with it. Rent or mortgage might be $4,000 a month. A car payment might be $700. Insurance, subscriptions, childcare, private school tuition. Each one manageable on its own, but together forming a heavy, recurring structure. The danger of fixed costs is that they don't easily go away. Variable spending, restaurants, travel, shopping, can be reduced quickly if needed. But fixed obligations remain. They create financial rigidity. They lock you into needing your current level of income just to maintain stability. High fixed costs eliminate flexibility. They reduce your ability to slow down, change careers, take risks, or recover from disruption. Even with a high salary, your financial life can become structurally dependent on continuous income. The third force is social escalation. As your income increases, your environment often changes with it. Your peer group shifts. The people around you earn similar amounts, and their lifestyles become your new reference point. When you were earning $85,000, your friends lived a certain way. The restaurants were modest. The vacations were occasional. But when your income rises to $300,000, your social circle often reflects that level. The restaurants become more expensive. The trips become more frequent and more elaborate. The expectations change. This isn't necessarily about showing off. It's about alignment. Humans naturally synchronize with their environment. This is called relative wealth. Your sense of financial well-being depends less on your absolute income and more on how you compare to those around you. And location amplifies this effect. Earning $100,000 in Iowa creates a completely different experience than earning $100,000 in Los Angeles. Your zip code reshapes what feels normal. And when your reference point moves upward, your sense of feeling rich moves further away. You don't feel rich because your comparison group changed. The fourth force is emotional spending and the psychology of reward. Money isn't just math. It's emotional. When you get a raise, it feels like progress, and progress deserves recognition. You celebrate. You upgrade something. When you're stressed or exhausted, spending becomes a way to recover time and energy. You outsource tasks. You pay for convenience. Spending provides an immediate dopamine hit, a quick sense of relief, reward, or control. Saving, on the other hand, provides delayed security. It doesn't feel as immediately satisfying. The benefit is invisible in the moment. And human brains are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over future stability. This creates a quiet tension. Feeling rich often comes from spending money. But being wealthy comes from not spending it. And the higher your income, the easier it becomes to justify spending, because technically you can afford it. But over time, these small decisions accumulate, and they reshape the structure of your financial life in ways that income alone cannot fix. When you put all of this together, you get the paycheck-to-paycheck paradox. On the surface, it sounds impossible. How can someone earning $250,000 or $300,000 a year still feel financially squeezed? But structurally it makes sense. High income, combined with high fixed expenses, a low or inconsistent savings rate, and constant upward comparison, that equation produces financial anxiety. Not poverty. Not crisis. But pressure. The kind where your salary is strong, yet stepping away for even a few months feels risky. The kind where your lifestyle depends entirely on continued performance. This is where a critical concept comes in: optionality. Optionality is the ability to stop working temporarily without panic. It's the freedom to take a break, change direction, or survive a downturn without destabilizing your life. Optionality doesn't come from income alone. It comes from accumulated assets, liquidity, and margin. If your income stops and everything collapses within months, what you have isn't freedom, it's dependence on a paycheck. If you can't stop, you're not financially free, no matter your income. And here's the uncomfortable twist. Sometimes more money makes the problem worse. For lower-income households, an extra $1,000 usually goes toward necessities: rent, food, transportation, overdue bills. It stabilizes the base. But for higher earners, that same $1,000 often flows toward both necessities and upgrades: a better apartment, a nicer car, more dining out, more convenience. At higher income levels, lifestyle expansion becomes easier to justify because technically, you can afford it. The higher you earn, the easier it is to rationalize upgrades. And without intentional savings discipline, income growth doesn't create freedom, it expands expectations. Income growth without savings discipline increases pressure, not freedom. So how do you actually step off the hamster wheel? Not with vague advice or guilt, but with structure. Step 1. Know your net worth. Not your salary. Not your monthly income. Your net worth, what you own minus what you owe. Investments, retirement accounts, cash, home equity, minus student loans, credit cards, mortgages, car loans. Everyone has a net worth, even if it's negative. Especially if it's negative. Because until you measure it, you're operating on assumptions instead of data. Income tells you how fast money comes in. Net worth tells you whether you're truly building wealth. It shifts your focus from earning to accumulating. Step 2. Raise your savings rate with every raise. This is critical. Every time your income increases, your savings should increase first, not after you upgrade your lifestyle. If you receive a $20,000 raise, decide in advance that a meaningful portion automatically goes toward investments or long-term assets. Lifestyle upgrades come second. That's how you prevent income growth from being absorbed by lifestyle creep. The objective isn't to restrict your life, but to ensure your future grows faster than your expenses. Step 3. Build a real emergency fund, 6 to 12 months of essential expenses in liquid cash. Not, I have some money invested. Accessible cash. Security creates the emotional feeling of wealth. When you know a job loss or surprise expense won't destabilize you, your stress level drops dramatically. Research consistently shows financial well-being is strongly tied to emergency savings, not just income. That cushion converts high earnings into real stability. Step 4. Choose your luxuries. You cannot upgrade everything at once. If you upgrade housing, travel, dining, wardrobe, and transportation simultaneously, your entire cost structure resets higher. Instead, pick 1 or 2 categories that genuinely matter to you. Spend intentionally there. Keep the rest moderate. Wealth isn't about deprivation, it's about prioritization. You can afford almost anything, just not everything at the same time. And finally, define enough. If you don't define enough, the market will define it for you. Your industry, your city, your peer group will keep stretching the target. When you consciously decide what level of income, savings, and lifestyle truly satisfies you, the finish line stops moving. And that's when high income can finally turn into real wealth. At the end of the day, we have to separate 2 very different ideas. Looking rich and being wealthy. Looking rich is visible. It's the apartment in the right neighborhood. The car in the driveway. The restaurants, the vacations, the clothes, the appearances. It's lifestyle on display. It's what other people can see and measure. And in a culture driven by status, that version of success is easy to chase. But being wealthy feels different. It's quieter. It's the absence of panic when something breaks. It's the absence of desperation when work becomes unstable. It's the ability to breathe because your life isn't balanced on next month's paycheck. It's having enough margin to think clearly, to make decisions from strength instead of fear. Real wealth is optionality. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic job, from a bad deal, from constant pressure, because you've built a foundation that can support you. High income can buy the appearance of success. But only discipline and structure build security. The real flex isn't making $300,000 a year. The real flex is not needing to